Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
This is
Today's April 13th,
April 13th. This is an exciting day for me.
2025.
I hope you guys have some time because we may run over. I think we'll probably be done around 4:30.
You may be here by yourself.
You're kidding. I thought if I had something to say, everybody wanted to listen.
Well, they probably will for a while.
For a
So,
while, at any event, people have to go to the bathroom and they have to get coffee like I've got.
so our topic today
Yes.
is
What is it?
challenging our own limiting beliefs,
Uh,
especially in the face of facts.
Interesting.
And so, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that there are facts and then there's truth.
And then there's facts.
And we really distinguish the difference. Facts are what's really happening, but truth with a capital T is what's true spiritually.
Mhm.
And so there's so much more true spiritually that we don't see, can't feel. Well, we might feel it, but can't touch it. And so it's so easy to lose track of that and just look at the facts.
But I want to add to that, the facts are always limited by our set of beliefs. And so what we are calling a fact today, what that really represents is, to the best of my knowledge, given my experience, what I've heard, what I've read, what I've been taught.
Right.
And so the problem is that we make what we call our truth try to fit into that arena of facts, which are already limited, which is back
Exactly.
to the name of our talk, or the topic of our talk, which is overcoming your limited beliefs, and you don't know they're limited.
Right. So they're limited if they do not include the power of God in our lives. And we believe that there is this power for good in the universe that is greater than we are,
And
and we can use it.
that's the part.
We can use it. And we can lose track of that, especially when we're having illness or difficulty, because there's no support for it in the outer world. There's no support, even with a lot of other people believing what we believe. But we believe it based on our experience of using it, using the power of our connection with God. So when I say facts, and I'm referring to my own illness this week of having the flu, and Bob had it too. And one of the facts is that flu is catchable. That when you're around people with it, you can catch it. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And nobody disputes that, or at least who understands what we understand about viruses and germs. And so it's very easy to pay attention to the facts because other people and television and everybody's always reminding us of the facts. And facts are that when you're around a lot of people who have come from all over the world, and they've come in planes and trains and ships and everything, and they come all together and congregate in rooms, that their germs are catchable or their viruses are catchable. And we have to watch what we believe and what we expect. And I just got over another virus, which was COVID, about a month ago when I traveled by airplane. And again, it was that I believe that there were people on airplanes that could spread things like that. And sure enough, I came down with it. And it spread to both sisters that I was visiting. So that those are the facts that these things are spreadable and you can catch them. But it's interesting, not everybody catches them.
Right. So then the fact is really, if you will, an opening for the possibility of the occurrence of what you believe to be true.
Exactly.
And so when you say the fact is it's contagious, you've just said, and that makes me now a member of the contagious group, or those that can receive contagious experiences. And so what happens to the people that don't believe that is they also may get sick, but they may also have other beliefs which allow for this kind of an experience to occur, and they don't necessarily know it.
One of the things, especially just after getting over COVID, here I am on a ship and the ship is moving. By the way, it was a great experience. We're
Yeah.
so glad we went. But the ship is moving side to side. And so there are announcements from the ship saying, be sure to use the handrails in the aisles, on the stairways, everywhere you go, use the handrails to keep you from falling. And I did. But every time I did, I thought, oh, I'm touching these handrails that everybody else has touched. And that is what I talk about with the facts. That is a fact. But Bob never had that thought when he was using the handrails. He never had the thought, oh, I may pick up a germ or get sick from other people. And and this is what is the invitation. This is the invitation. It's the fear uh, of the facts
And
without realizing that there is a higher power that you can call upon.
so I didn't believe I'd get sick on the ship or that I'd get sick from anybody on the ship. But when I got home and you were sitting 3 feet away from me, sneezing and coughing, I thought, oh God, I'm probably going to get this.
That's the
And
invitation.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and and mine was the invitation when I thought, uh-oh, I'm putting my hands on everybody else's germs.
So now I'm
It's
saying,
an invitation to let that happen.
oh, probably now I'll be a millionaire. Oh goodness, I don't know how this is. I wasn't prepared for this, but I'm going to have to deal with it.
I wish you had been thinking that.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, it's so easy for us to lose track of the fact that there is a power for good in the universe that is greater than we are, and we can use it because we are one with it. And it's not visible, it is feelable, but it's not visible. And so we can lose track with the facts that we can see and we are reminded of all the time on television.
And therein lies the rub that because we can't see it, and we rely, I think I read someplace, 80% on vision and 20% on hearing, that if we can't see it, we don't know that it's there, and we need a lot more reassurance from a lot more places that it's real. And so, since we can't see divine intelligence, we can't see divine mind, we can't see divine spirit, we have to be reminded on a regular basis that it's true. And very often, our relationship with this divine, this divine mind, was that you? This divine mind, it is, I hope it's true. Our relationship is one of separation. And as soon as we think about there being a God or a divine, something greater than us, we think of it as something greater than us rather than it's being us. And that separation is the issue. Can I for a minute? Uh, this cruise was incredible, and it wasn't something that I was planning on having be incredible. I was planning on listening to Suzanne Eastman talk about her experiences and the evidence that she had to support her experiences. And I thought, okay, I didn't hear much that I didn't already know. And I thought, this is still worth it. I mean, to listen to somebody who's on stage talking to 300 people. But she said something at the very beginning, too, which I paid attention to. And I thought she was simply covering all the positive bases that she could cover. And she said, some people are going to walk away from this experience having an extraordinary healing. There'll be a lot of healing going on. I thought, no, that would be nice, you know. And if anything does happen as positive, you can claim it, and that's a smart move on your part. You're the presenter, and yeah, I can hear myself being in my head thinking this through and thinking if I were a presenter, I would like to have thought of that too, and then I can take advantage of whatever is shared with me as having to do with me and what I'm doing. No ego there at all. And so I listened and I listened and I listened. But one of the first experiences that I had on the cruise was I was walking down the deck. I learned that it's not a floor, it's a deck. And I was walking down the deck, and there were lots of people all around the pool area. And they were big ones and little ones and fat ones and skinny ones and the kind you wished you met when you were younger and the kind that you were glad you hadn't met at any point in your life. And all of these bodies, normally what I would be doing is I'd be walking by and saying, that's something you should never be wearing. 50 pounds or less.
Your inner critic would
Yeah,
have been
50 pounds less would be perfect. That one's brown, that one's blue, that one's green, that one's yellow. That's interesting. Without even noticing, I would be doing an on the spot assessment of 100 different bodies, thinking that I wasn't doing that. What I saw for the first time, and I've never had this happen before, was these packages of life. And I thought, oh, they're so interesting. They have different energy. They all have all the parts they need to reproduce. They have all the parts they need for relationship. They have all the parts they need. There's these little packages complete and totally self-sufficient in the sense that they can co-create, they can create. And I was just blown away. And I felt more like my dog. And wow, this is interesting. Everyone has their own smell. They have their own look. They have their own.
Now, to be accurate, you are not sniffing them.
No, no, no. To be very, in fact, that probably would have ended my cruise. But it was an extraordinary, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it as much then as I have since. But what I was seeing for the first time were these extraordinary beings rather than people who came from different places with different backgrounds and different races and
Ah,
different
yeah.
languages and different genders and different gender choices and different wardrobe choices and different color choices. There's so much to pay attention to with the senses that you may not notice you're not paying attention to this package of beingness, this package of light. And I thought, this is extraordinary. So I want to go on a little bit further about this because it does tie into what we're talking about today. Uh, I've been practicing for a long time different types of meditation, and I practice every night a kind of gratitude list before I do my meditation. And I learned that the best way to open up your spirituality is actually not to try to open up your spirituality, but to be grateful. And so I would list everything I was grateful for, everyone I was grateful for, everything I'm grateful for that I can think of. And then I would just go into myself and then I would see if I could connect with spirit. I would make my request of spirit. Can I have this? Can I do this? Can we have this? Can this open to me? And without realizing it, I thought that the practice was actually the thing itself. That I
Ah.
thought I practiced this, you sit with your hands in the right position. If you're younger, you can sit,
Cross-legged.
all your legs all bent up, and at my age, they would never unbend. But you do all of these things, and the practice makes you feel like, yeah, I got this, and you don't got this. You don't. You're not anywhere. You're in practice. Now, when you talked about the steps of treatment, really what you were talking about is that we need to know that there's a force and intelligence out there. There's something greater than us that we can connect to.
Oh, I want to correct that right there because that's the word I used to say. We can connect to it as if we could be separate from it.
That's where I'm going with it.
Oh, okay, good. But one of our listeners today, Reverend Elizabeth Arrett, corrected me, and she was correct. She says we don't connect to it. Let's see. Oh gosh, I lost what I was going to say. Um, we are always connected to it.
Yeah.
So it, it we we don't say we connect. We are one with. That's the
Yeah,
wording she
we're
gave
not
me.
one step removed from it.
Yeah,
We
we
are
don't
already
have
one.
to connect.
Right.
We are one with it. We
Right.
can't be separate from it, but we cannot know that we're one with it.
So in my meditation that I normally go through, and I go through all the steps and everything else, and one of the things I've been working on in my meditation is to revitalize my body. And I've said to myself, we're programmed internally from a lot of places to age. We're programmed to age socially because of our community. We have a lot of models for what it looks like to be old. And I said, but I think we can reprogram ourselves to not have to be the age that we are in terms of the physical breakdowns. And so I've said, I'm going to program my body to be healthy and to be young again, not to live forever or to live longer, but to live better, to live more fully. And I've been working on this now for 2 years, and I've definitely gotten at least 6 months younger. So it has helped, but it hasn't been the solution. However, I'm doing my meditation and I'm going to Holy Spirit, Holy this, great that, whatever. And then I thought this new one was, interesting, sacred light. And I didn't know what that was, but I heard it and I felt it, and I thought sacred light. Wow, that's interesting. And all of a sudden, for the very first time, I experienced what looked like an opening. And that opening was, for me, that light beginning to transcend. And then I got some information that I thought was really valuable and I think ties to our talk. The information that I got is you have been working with the wrong center to get what you want to have happen. And when I
Mm.
mean center is, I mean, we have different chakras. These are, if you will, the receivers and transmitters of energy. They vitalize the body. They open us to, and so the one that I was working from is the base chakra, and that base chakra, what it is it's a survival chakra. It's to reproduce, it's to survive, it's to manage in this physical world. And trying to reprogram my body is a fear-based kind of thing.
Mm.
And so the problem with this is I actually was doing pretty well with it. And the problem with often having not exactly the right answer, but enough of the right answer, is that you keep thinking all you have to do is try harder and it will work. For a lot of us that have done treatment, we think I just need to do a better treatment. I need to try harder. We need to try differently. So what I learned, and this is I think really a part of everything that we do, is that the different chakras don't we don't have to change the vibration of them. In fact, we can't because they are all set to vibrate at a particular frequency or they would fall apart. What we need to do is to align them and have them all operating at the volume that can connect us to that channel, if you will, to that source that we're already a part of, but that we it's like an umbilical cord. And that umbilical cord,
Invisible,
yeah, it's an invisible
it's an
umbilical
energy.
cord.
There's
Yeah.
a,
And we squeeze it off with fear. We squeeze it off with, I would squeeze it off with, and I loved always saying this, I believe in divine intelligence. So what am I saying is, do I believe in divine heart? Pretty much, but divine intelligence takes over. So where am I going to get blocked? I'm going to get blocked with anything that I can't intelligently make sense of.
mm,
And I don't know that I'm going to be blocked by that because I think that if I can make sense of it, of course it's possible. But my ability to make sense of things is very limited. I can drive a car, but I don't have a lot of common sense about all the parts that make it work. And so if I had to understand the machinery of a car before I could drive it, I would still be walking. And so there we move into something which became huge for me, which is the knowledge of the understanding of is just a component of getting to the point of knowing. And the knowing is the part that's really critical. We need to know that divine spiritual connection, that God, whatever you want to call it, is working through us all of the time. And that there's no way we could even begin to explain the number of possibilities that are alive in that. So when I say, I'd like my arthritis to be gone, okay, can we work on that? And Divine Mind says, sure, we can work on that. Well, what I'm not looking at is all of the components that have to do with how that came to be, what that's serving, how it's teaching, what it's all about. I'm not aware of any of that. I have this limited view. So, what if the miracle that I need to experience is that, and what I need to learn from that? And then maybe that would be gone. I don't know. So, what I came away with, and this sounds pretty basic, unfortunately, but it's pretty true, is that one, the most important piece of all of this is I have lived my entire life believing I was alone and that I was not, that I didn't belong. For the very first time, while driving 80 miles an hour to see my son on the other side of the state, I got, I'm not
this
alone.
weekend.
Yeah, this weekend, I'm not alone. I've never been alone, but I have been disconnected. I've been disconnected from the conversation that we can have on an ongoing basis. I've been disconnected from the source. And so my practice has been
But you
practice.
you've been disconnected through your lack of awareness.
Yeah, I actually haven't been disconnected. It's like
Right.
I turned down the volume and said, I can't hear you.
Yeah, yeah.
What is that? Well, you don't understand. I'm listening for you and I have to turn down the volume so I can hear wherever you are because you're out there. No, turn the volume up in here because you've always been in here.
Right.
And so I realized for the very first time that what I was asking for was wholeness, complete aliveness, awareness, the depth of experiencing this life rather than if we could fix these things, I could be a lot better. If we could fix these things, I would still be disconnected, but it wouldn't be as bad as it is right now. And it's not bad. In fact, the trouble with my life is it isn't that bad, which means it doesn't have to be that good. And so what I saw was as I aligned my knowingness, and that opened me up, my knowingness that this is true, suddenly all of those chakras or whatever you want to call them, those sources of energy, those places where light can move, were open. And I had this aha, I'm not alone. So I went and saw my son, and we had a great time. We haven't seen each other in 10 years. It was like we hadn't seen each other in 5 minutes. And we shared conversations. He caught me up on it, I caught him up on it, and then I'm on my way home. And I was in that field of energy, and I was thinking, God, I think I've lost that I felt coming here. And I'm hoping Donna Michaels will eventually listen to this, our podcast here. And I'm driving along thinking, I hope I haven't lost it. See, even when you figure it all out and you get it, you can lose it in a heartbeat. And I hear in this in the background of my mind, "You are the light, I am the light, we are the light of this world." And I thought, oh, that is cool. That is so good. And it
It
was,
is, and we can't be separate from
we
it.
can't be separate from
But
it.
we can feel like we're separate from it
Yes.
because those are the facts that we can't
And
see
they're
it,
and they're
touch
not
it.
actually facts. They're simply statements that at this particular point make the most amount of sense to us.
You're right, they are not facts, but they appear
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
facts.
And the trouble when we call them facts is they're now written in a stone that we can't erase.
Well, when I say facts, I'm talking about uh, all the things that we accept as
Oh
true
yeah,
and
yeah,
real
I get where
that
you are.
have
Yeah,
nothing to do with God or
yeah,
spirituality, because that's what our world presents to us.
yeah.
That's what the TV presents to us. They'll talk about illness and what causes this and what doesn't cause it, all having nothing to do with your spirituality or with
Yeah.
God or your spirit. And that's the part that I'm talking about when I say in the face of facts.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Yeah.
Those facts mean that you're forgetting that you are one with the greatest power in the world. And that is the power that you can use. And because you're one with it. And I have listed the steps of the five main steps of we call our spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer in the chat for you
Mm,
to, it's a for those of you who may not know them and or may not know these words. And so I'd like to go over it briefly.
sure.
It starts with um, a, a recognition that the power is the power of God. You start with that is, God is. And the second step is to unify with it. And I am one with all of that power and love and beauty.
And it's the recognition that you are connected. You're not saying I'm connecting now.
Right,
You're saying
yes.
I
I'm
am.
already.
Yeah. This is a recognition stage where I get, oh my, I didn't know you were in the room with me. Oh no,
Right,
we are
yeah.
the room.
So recognition, unification. The third step is what you're affirming. You're affirming you're well in this case. Sometimes Sandra Marshman said last week, oh hell, I'm well. Let me just let go of all the facts and just say the truth is, with a capital T, I am well. And that you are affirming what it is you want to see happen. Sometimes it can take more time
Mhm.
to happen. But when you shift this way and believe it, then all you have to do in the next two steps are to release it, quit worrying about it, quit obsessing about it, and give thanks for it. Thank you, God. It's done.
I want to go back to when you believe it. Now, what you're going to grapple with is I need to move from believing it to knowing it. When I go from believing it, which is I believe this, but I don't have any, I'm going to believe it. I'm going to take it on faith to it. There's a part of you that when you practice this just knows it. And when you know it, it opens up a universe. It opens up everything that's possible. Up until then, it's a believing, and that's an enormously great step to take. I believe this, therefore I'm open now to the possibility of knowing. But don't think for a second that just believing it is going to solve whatever thing that you want to solve. Know that you need to know it in here and feel it. So why do we go into the silence? We go into the silence to get to connect to the knowingness.
Yes.
And I think what I have often done is I've gone straight to these are the steps, they should work. Okay, over and out, thank you. And next, as opposed to wait a second, do you know that there's a listener and the listener is inside and outside? Do you know that you are connected? And if you know that, it's a different relationship. Very often, I will say Judith is behind a little band thing we've got, a little wall between us when we're on our separate computers. And I'll say, Judith, are you in the room? See, I know Judith is with me all the time, but I also need to know when she's in the room and I can communicate with her. I believe she's in the room, but when I know she's in the room, it's a different thing. And so we need, if we can, to allow ourselves to get to know this truth. Before we wrap up, I know we're running out of time. That's why I said we're going to be here till 4. What I've learned about from this experiences this last week is that it's harder to treat for people's conditions than I remember it's ever been, because the conditions have to do with that individual's choices as well as their contract and a lot of other different things. But what I can do is I can be available for a greater knowing for the person for their highest and best. And I can send, as I will to everyone here, love. If there's nothing else that we think is right, and whether the person says yes to it or not, and send them love.
Indeed.
And that love is the knowing that we're connected. That love means that you and I are in fact at another place in that I can't see, but in a constant place. We're connected. We're one. I was going to start off today, and I didn't get to it. Is I love all of you. I really do, and I really feel that. It's like every one of you is just an extraordinary being of possibility, of light, and I think, wow, I am so excited that I get to know all of you. Now that's a little different, and it's huge from my knowing your name or where you're from or what your style of life is. Or I mean, I've known a lot about all of you. After this week, I came away feeling, God, I know these people, and they're these beings of light. These are little packages of just extraordinary possibility. That's a different, so I can treat differently for you now than I would. Treating for you now is knowing who you are at a very wonderful and deep level and saying, yes, yes, it's good, very good.
Well, why don't we end with a spiritual mind treatment,
Why
which
not?
is what we call our affirmative prayer.
Yeah.
And when he says, well, I would treat for you, he's talking about doing affirmative prayer for you. So let's close with that right now.
Okay.
So we know and recognize right now there is one power, one life, one love. It is all that is. We may call it God, we may call it by any name, but it is love. It is truth. It is us.
So I know right now, as I reach out into this cosmos of love, into this universe of stars, millions and millions and millions of stars, and I thought that they were planets, but they are not. They are beings, and we are those beings. We are those sources of light. We are connected in this enormous network of light. We are no longer a single book that is being written or read. We are the entire library of books that have ever been written and that are being written now. And so I know now for each of us, I know for myself, that the wisdom, the knowledge, the health, the well-being, whatever it is that we need is already there for us and is available for us. All we need to do, and what we do right now, is to say,
I
yes,
accept it.
yes,
I accept this for
yes,
myself and for others.
yes. And that is the way it is.
I give thanks for it,
And we say together,
and
and
so
so
it
it
is.
is. Let's do that again.
Whew, that was nice. Okay,
Okay.
so we want to end the recording.
Yeah. Stop recording down here. That's it.